Hello, it says I'm live. I think I'm all plugged in. I think I'm good to go. I'm just going to jump right in where I left off on this 131 page document earlier today. So I'll do a couple of little housekeeping things. Hit your like button if you're watching, please, either live or on the replay. Hitting the like button is very helpful. Also, please subscribe if you're not subscribed. And if you are subscribed, check to make sure that you're still subscribed. I have it on live chat. It looks like no one's in here yet. I am sorry. I accidentally scheduled this for 6:30. I thought I scheduled it for 10 o'clock. So I was like, oh, I'm going to change it to 10:15. I'm just a couple minutes late. And then it was like 6:30. What? That was weird. Okay. So, turn on your notification bell to ring, share this video live or after it's done recording. For anybody who wants to know what's in the arrest affidavit for Barry Morphew, Suzanne Morphew's murder 5 years ago. And this affidavit is 4 years old. And I have two other videos. This is video number 3. It's probably going to end up being at least 6 videos long, but we'll see. Here we go. Bottom of page 30. On May 22nd, 2020, at approximately 9:05 a.m., pursuant to the issuance of a search warrant, search teams along with canine and canine handlers, bloodhound, man trackers, necro search. Oh, that sounds gross. Sorry. I'm going to just try to read. Searched the property at 6962 County Road 105, a site where Barry had been conducting earthwork since April of 2020. A local resident had reported heavy machinery being used late at night on Saturday, May 9th, 2020. During this search, 3 canines were ran blindly and individually across the property. NecroSearch and the FBI Evidence Response Team, ERT, worked with CCSO and CBI to remove portions of the poured concrete slab and search through the new construction. On May 23rd, 2020, a second excavation was conducted at the property in attempts to find the remains of Suzanne. Results were negative. Facebook friend requests. Subsequent to the issuance of a search warrant, your affiant received the Facebook business record for the account of Suzanne Morphew. FBI Special Agent Grushing and FBI Staff Operations Specialist Robert Boss reviewed the results. 20 males, 3 of them with the first name Jeff. Try to use air quotes whenever things are in quotes. Though Jeff Libler was not on the list, and 3 females were new friends added to Suzanne's Facebook account between Friday, May 8th, 2020 at 9:04 p.m. through Saturday, May 9th, 2020 at 6:01 p.m. From a cursory review of Suzanne's account dating back to January 1st, 2020, these friend requests were out of the norm for Suzanne. Though Suzanne received over 20 friend requests from others in 2020, her Facebook account profile initiated no friend requests until May 8th. Of the 23 people who received Suzanne's request, none were able to confirm with Suzanne that it was actually her who sent the request. FBI and CCSO interviewed over 10 of these recipients, most of whom live in Indiana. Derek Thurston, who received a request from Suzanne's account on May 10th, 2020 at 10:12 a.m., said he knew Suzanne from junior high and high school in Alexandria, but was not a close friend of hers. Thurston thought it odd that Suzanne decided to send the friend request after not talking to him in over 25 years. He added that she did not seem like the type who was desperate to friend people whom she did not know well. Bobby Huff, who became Facebook friends with Suzanne on May 9th, 2020 at 9:33 a.m., graduated with Barry from Alexandria Monroe High School in Alexandria, Indiana. Huff has not talked to Barry or Suzanne since 1985, same year I graduated high school. Huff stated that Suzanne would never see me and friend me on Facebook. Huff stated that Suzanne, quote, would never see me and friend me on Facebook, end quote. Huff explained that her sending the invitation felt weird to him and not something Suzanne would do after such a long time of not speaking, especially the day before she disappeared. Huff added that many rumors were flying around Alexandria that Suzanne and Barry were not happy in their marriage, that Barry was in financial trouble, and that he was involved in shady business dealings. Shane Phipps became Facebook friends with Suzanne on May 8th, 2020 at 9:08 p.m. Phipps said that he did not know Suzanne because she was younger than him, but he and Barry knew each other from the high school, since Phipps was 1 year older than Barry. Wade Pullman called the Suzanne Morphew tip line. Pullman wanted to report receiving a Facebook request for Suzanne on Friday, May 8th at 10:05 a.m., which he found strange because he has not spoken with her in 30 plus years. Ricky King became Facebook friends with Suzanne on May 9th, 2020 at 9:31 a.m. King had his phone with him when he received the friend request on that Saturday, May 9th. He accepted the request, though he had no real contact with Suzanne or Barry since high school. King described the friend request as strange, considering the timing and the fact that he did not know Suzanne or Barry well. Range Rovers seized. On May 16th, 2020, CCSO seized the two Range Rovers located in the garage at the Morphew's residence. The vehicles were towed and taken to the CCSO secure impound facility to secure them for further evidence processing. On May 20th, 2020, your affiant spoke with FBI Special Agent Dave Donati regarding the 2007 Range Rover and the 2015 Range Rover telematics. Special Agent Donati explained the 2007 Range Rover would not contain telematic information, but the 2015 may contain this data. On April 29th, 2021, Special Agent Grushing advised that the results of the examination by the FBI's Technology Division for the 2015 Range Rover have not been completed. Barry's Verizon records. On May 12th, 2020, your affiant spoke with Special Agent Kevin Hoyland with the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team. Special Agent Hoyland requested that cellular records be obtained for 1 month prior to law enforcement being notified on May 10th, 2020, when Suzanne went missing. Special Agent Hoyland explained the records will be useful to establish a pattern of life for Suzanne with her call detail records. Search warrants were served to Verizon Wireless for detailed record information to include all geolocation information on the following people: Suzanne Morphew, redacted; Barry Morphew, redacted; redacted Morphew, redacted Morphew, and redacted. To date, no evidence has been obtained to include outgoing phone calls, outgoing text messages, vehicle movements, sightings on video cameras, or sightings by an independent witness other than Barry that Suzanne left the Morphew house after May 8th at 7:06 p.m. FBI Grushing, FBI Special Agent Grushing, Special Scientist Brian Turner, and CAST Agent Hoyland, along with personnel from the RMRCFL, have examined Barry's cell phone. Special Agent Grushing wrote the following regarding Barry's cell phone content as it relates to Suzanne's disappearance. From 5:41 p.m. on Friday, May 8th, 2020, through Sunday, May 10th, 2020, all 11 calls between Barry and Suzanne are outgoing from Barry to Suzanne. Out of the 58 voicemail on Barry's phone, none are from Suzanne. Barry deleted numerous calls between himself and Suzanne from May 4th to the 5th when asked by FBI agents in April of 2021 why he deleted those calls. He said he did not recall doing so, and he must have been freeing up space on his phone. On January 7, 2020, Barry's phone searched "How to Make a Girl Orgasm YouTube," quote unquote, recovered from deleted web searches on Barry's phone. How weird that it says girl, how to make a girl orgasm YouTube. Like, why not chick or damsel or I don't know, woman, female. Anyway, bitch. Gross. Anyway, Barry's phone searched older men, younger women relationships YouTube, end quote. Ah, that's why, because he wants girls. Recovered from deleted web searches on Barry's phone. On January 8th, 2020, Barry's phone searched the Facebook help page, quote, "I can't reset my Facebook password because I can't access the email or mobile phone number on my account, help center," end quote. Recovered from deleted web searches on Barry's phone. On January 24th, 2020, Barry's phone searched, quote, "Third base, my first hand job, Dear Teen Diary, 9th grade, entry 14, YouTube," end quote. Need I say gross again? Recovered from deleted web searches on Barry's phone. And then the 37th footnote says, reference the password reset on Suzanne's iPhone the night of May 8th, 2020. Reference Barry's phone section for May 8th. On January 25th, 2020, Barry's phone accessed quote, local Snapchat sext.com, end quote, and also, quote, "find a cute girl near Salida," end quote, and, quote, "come get dirty," redacted, along with other such sites that were recovered from, quote, deleted web searches, end quote, on Barry's phone. On March 19th, 2020, at 6:44 a.m., a video on Barry's phone was taken of a prescription drug bottle of Suzanne Morphew for redacted. On April 24th, 2020, Suzanne sent Barry the following message that was recovered from deleted images by the RMRFCL. "Oh, I'm sure your mistress has you all happy now, so you can say you love me, but bully me when you're with me. Yeah, that's love. RMRCFL examiner Jim Stevens found the above image as one that Barry likely swiped the message off his screen, and then the swiped image was saved. This message was not recovered separately in Suzanne's iCloud storage or Barry's phone. On May 4th, 2020, at 4:04 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Suzanne that lasted 3 seconds. This was the first logged call in Barry's phone to or from Suzanne since February 7th, 2020. An additional 6 calls, incoming and outgoing, between Suzanne and Barry were made that day until 6:07 p.m. May 5th through the 10th, Barry's phone and other GPS sources. For the context of examining data from Barry's phone, a comparison of the locations from his Ford F-350 as gathered from the return of the search warrant for telematics, together with the Verizon return from Suzanne's phone per search warrant return, are included by Special Agent Grushing for the dates of May 5th, 2020 through May 10th, 2020. On May 6, 2020, Barry called Suzanne 6 consecutive times between 8:06 a.m. and 8:13 a.m. before she sent the aforementioned, quote, "I'm done, let's handle this civilly," end quote, message at 10:13 a.m. That message was recovered from RMRCFL as a deleted image from Barry's phone. On May 6, 2020, from 2:43 p.m. to 5:00 p.m., Suzanne received 4 messages deleted from Barry's phone prior to seizure of his phone on May 13th, 2020 from Barry, which referenced, let me read you a couple of footnotes here. 38, when Barry was asked by CBI if he ever searched online to meet other women, he replied, "No, never." Reference July 8th interview. He added, "Absolutely not, never." Yeah, he didn't want to meet other women. He wanted to meet girls. Gross. Okay, number 39, in Barry's interview with CBI on June 2nd, 2020, he stated that Suzanne was abusing her prescription pills. Number 40, Suzanne's Verizon records, however, account for 8 calls between her and Barry that morning. Quote, "When I'm dead," end quote, "going to see my," another quote, "going to see my savior," end quote, and quote, "this life on earth is a mere grain of sand compared to eternity," end quote. The location activities registered by Barry's phone were abnormally high in frequency during the late nights and early morning hours of May 8th through 9th, 2020, and May 9th through 10th, 2020. While at the Morphew residence. On May 8th, 2020, at 7:06 p.m., Barry's phone called Suzanne while his phone was likely traveling west along US 50. Suzanne's phone location was approximately 3 miles east of Barry's phone. The call lasted 73 seconds and was the last recorded phone call for either device on May 8th, 2020. On Friday, May 8th, 2020, at 7:18 p.m., Barry's phone registered its last event of the day. Its next event was at 6:46 a.m. on May 9th, 2020, when Barry's phone registered, quote, "power on," end quote. On May 9th, 2020, at 6:46 a.m., Barry's phone was taken out of airplane mode. Your affiant knows that airplane mode is the setting available on smartphones and other portable devices. When activated, this mode suspends the device's signal transmission technologies like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, effectively disabling all voice, text, and phone services. GPS may or may not be disabled. On May 9th, 2020, from 7:22 a.m. to 7:39 a.m., Barry's phone registered locations at his, quote, "Tailwinds," end quote, work site near Poncha Springs. During that time, Suzanne's phone exchanged messages with her friend Sheila Oliver, 7:35 a.m., and Greg Fisher accepted her friend request, 7:30 a.m. And if you're wondering, I'm drinking carrot juice. It's really good. Hopefully it doesn't turn my teeth orange while I'm talking. That would look kind of weird. but it might, just to warn you. Suzanne's phone was located at the Morphew residence per CAST cellular analysis survey team analysis for the entire day of May 9th, 2020. On May 9th, 2020, from 9:31 a.m. to 9:33 a.m., Ricky King and Bobby Huff accepted Suzanne's friend requests on Facebook. Barry's phone continued to receive messages from Suzanne's phone and send messages to her phone while he remained at the Route 105 site until 9:37 a.m. On May 9th, 2020, at 9:50 a.m., Suzanne's texted Barry, quote, "Want to hike," end quote. At 10:36 a.m., Suzanne texted Barry, quote, "Want to meet to hike," end quote. At 10:48 a.m., Barry responded, quote, "No, I'll come home," end quote. On May 9th, 2020, at 11:14 a.m., Suzanne's phone received a second password reset message from Facebook. Shortly after 11:15 a.m., Barry's phone traveled west on Highway 50, arriving at the Morphew residence around 11:27 a.m. Both phones per CAST appeared to be at the residence from 11:30 a.m. through 1:40 p.m. Barry's phone exchanged two messages with, quote, "Tim Bacco" at 1:49 p.m. and 1:50 p.m. Barry also made an outgoing call to Suzanne for 2 seconds at 1:51 p.m., his 10th of 11 consecutive calls to Suzanne. On May 9th, 2020, at 2:26 p.m., Barry texted Suzanne, "Done, headed back." At 2:31 p.m., Barry texted Suzanne, "Did you leave?" By 2:43 p.m., Barry's phone and F350 per telematics appeared to be at the Morphew residence. On May 9th at 2:47 p.m., Barry's phone appears to enter airplane mode. So footnote number 41, Fisher told the FBI that he thought Suzanne's Facebook had been, quote, "hacked," end quote, and he checked her account online upon receiving the request. Fisher said he is a close friend of Gene Mormon, Suzanne's father, and said, quote, "It didn't seem like her," end quote, to send him the request. 42. Huff told the FBI that he did not think Suzanne sent the requests, that, quote, "She would never see me," and, quote, "friend," end quote, "me," end quote. On May 9th at 10:17 p.m., an airplane mode off event started on Barry's phone, and the phone was then powered on at 4:32 a.m. on May 10th, 2020. That May 9th through 10th, 2020 night, approximately 210 locations for Barry's phone registered near the Morphew residence, compared to 0 to 2 locations on previous nights from May 1st through May 8th. Wow, 210 locations. That is wild. On May 10th, 2020, Barry's phone display came on and his device was unlocked at 3:56 a.m. On May 10th, 2020, from 3:25 a.m. to 3:48 a.m., the Ford F350 registered 0 miles per hour with GPS at Morphew residence as the doors opened and closed multiple times. Special Agent Hoyland noted over 80 events involving the F350 during this time frame. The location data for Suzanne's phone last registered with a tower near the Morphew residence at 4:23 a.m. Further events of Barry's phone records are documented under the surveillance video Broomfield section. Broomfield surveillance video, Barry's Ford F-350 and Barry's phone. Video footage was collected by the CBI from the Holiday Inn Express 11401 Via Vara, Broomfield, Colorado for May 10th, 2020. The following timeline of events include the surveillance video, telematics of Barry's truck, and his phone activities to provide his actions on May 10th. I was just going to interject right here that Holiday Inn Express in Broomfield, Colorado is right around the corner, coincidentally, from a children's hospital that Shanann Watts worked at. Oh, hey, Fireflies. How's it going? How long has that comment been there? Just for a couple of minutes. Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. I appreciate it. So yeah, I don't know if you paid attention to the Watts case, but Broomfield, Colorado is where the children's hospital was that Shanann Watts worked at, and probably where, in my opinion, where Nicole Kessinger and her crossed paths. How are you tonight? Let's see. Where was I? Oh, I know, right here. 8:14 a.m. Barry's phone was at the Holiday Inn Express 11401 Via Vara, Broomfield, Colorado. At 8:41 a.m., Barry texted Suzanne, quote, "I made it to Broomfield. Call me when you get a chance," end quote. At 8:46 a.m., Barry walked into the hotel carrying 2 white trash bags, a khaki backpack, a pair of boots, a dark-colored item, and a piece of clothing with blue-teal coloring. Is that Suzanne's clothing? That's kind of her color. It has a photograph of Barry that looks very haunting. Very, very haunting. If you can see that. It looks like he's standing by the elevator and it's just dark and creepy looking. Getting sleepy. Haha, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you. Not sleepy yet, but I'm just going to try to read as much of this as I can tonight, and then hoping to get through the rest of it tomorrow or the next day. I'm on a mission, and thanks for asking. 10:06 at 10:06 a.m. Barry exited his hotel room. Freudian slip there. He was carrying the charcoal long sleeve shirt and 2 white bags and a pair of boots. At 10:20 a.m., the location of Barry's phone was near the lot of McDonald's, 625 Interlochen Boulevard, Broomfield, Colorado. At 10:22 a.m., the driver door of the F-350 opened in the rear parking space of the same McDonald's lot. Truck telematics. Barry is seen on video provided to CBI from the First National Bank, 615 Interlochen Boulevard, located adjacent to the McDonald's lot. He is carrying unknown items in his hands and placing items into 2 separate trash cans located on the edge of the McDonald's lot between 10:19 a.m. and 10:41 a.m. per CBI, no timestamps. From the bank video, Barry exited the truck, walked to a trash can while he held an unknown smaller object in his left hand and possibly his right hand. He placed something in the can, extended his right arm downward into the can, and walked back to the open driver's door. Barry was oriented towards the inside of the driver's door and the driver's side floor for the next few frames. He walked to the same trash can, possibly with an item in his right hand, extended his right arm into the can, then placed both hands and arms in the can. And it has some photos here, but Um, if you wanted to look at the document, they're really, really light, so they're not going to show up at all on here. And the document itself, I have it linked in my video from yesterday that's not live anymore. I think it's like a 40-minute video if you're interested. But I will also link it in the description of all of these parts 1, 2, and 3 so far. Barry returned to the truck, oriented to the inner portion of the driver's side door. After a few frames, he turned with his hands together and walked to a trash can across the lot. He returned to his truck and drove away. From 10:47 a.m. to 11:18 a.m., the location of Barry's phone was in or beside the lot of Men's Warehouse, 160 East Flatiron Crossing Drive, Broomfield, Colorado. From 10:50 a.m. to 11:17 a.m., the driver and passenger doors of the F-350 were opened and closed at least 7 times in the parking lot near Men's Warehouse, 160 East Flatiron Crossing Drive, Broomfield. I bet Barry didn't count on all these logistics, them being able to tell when he opens his truck doors, etc. Ha ha ha. Absolutely, for fireflies. Yeah. And, he's saying that he's just being cheap and tossing stuff out, basically illegally, because he doesn't want to pay, at the dump to throw things away. But why would he be dumping at so many different places? Like, why not just dump it all in one place, right? At 11:23 a.m., the locations of Barry's phone and truck were at the Holiday Inn Express. At 11:36 a.m., Barry walked into the hotel lobby wearing a black t-shirt, carrying under his left arm a black binder and disorganized papers. At 11:56 a.m., Barry exited his room wearing a white t-shirt. And footnotes here, 43, on April 22nd, 2021, FBI agents showed Barry these photos. Boom. I bet that was uncomfortable. Awkward. In March and April 2021, FBI agents showed Barry overhead photos of the site and could not recall why he was there or what he threw away. So wearing a white t-shirt and carrying the binder with the papers, right photo, he walked to his truck at 11:57 a.m. I'm going to show you these photos because they're darker, and especially the one on the right with the light background and the dark body just really reminds me of like Slender Man. I mean, doesn't that look like Slender Man? Not that I know Slender Man, just from that one horrible case with those teenagers. And that girl survived. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. The one that was stabbed by her friends who were trying to impress Slender Man. I think they were like 12 or something. I want to say it was in Michigan, but I'm not sure. It was just awful. Thank goodness that girl survived. I've seen interviews with her too. Like, she's a very optimistic person. Like, it's not like she thinks that everyone's evil or anything, like I would, like a lot of people would. From 11:57 a.m. to 12:25 p.m., Barry's phone was near the Via Vara worksite for the wall. At 12:06 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Redacted. From 12:28 p.m. to 12:29 p.m., the location of Barry's phone was at the Holiday Inn Express. Telematics of F-350 also registered the driver door opening and closing multiple times in the hotel lot. At 12:36, he's just so like frantic, all of this opening and closing the door. Like, he's just freaking out. At 12:36 p.m., Barry arrived at the hotel parking lot in his truck. He got out of the truck and carried one white trash bag, larger in size than the previous bags, in one hand. In the other hand, he carried a black container along with a green item, possibly a piece of clothing. At 12:38 p.m., Barry placed bags, a black container, and clothing from his truck beside the curb near the hotel lobby. See photos below. I'll show those in a second. Then he walked to his truck, appeared to pick up a small item from inside, picked up the trash bag, coat, and container, and walked towards the dumpster at the end of the lot. So let's see if you can get a good look. There's Barry bending over. There's Barry standing next to his truck. And there's Barry by the dumpster. Here we go. Barry by the dumpster there. He's the light figure in the middle. Okay. They are so thorough, aren't they? So impressive. Tedious, but man, amazing. At 12:41 p.m., Barry walked back across the lot towards the hotel lobby with nothing in his hands. At 12:42 p.m., Barry entered his hotel room. Barry does not leave his room per the film until 6:03 p.m., so 5 hours. And footnotes 45, the first photo depicts Barry walking towards his room. The second is him walking away with approximately 19 minutes later, wearing a different shirt. He provided varying statements to CBI and FBI about these photos. Number 46, on April 22nd, 2021, FBI agents asked Barry why he did not park near the dumpster to throw away these items, and he said he did not recall. He says that a lot. I don't remember. Classic. In March 2021, agents showed Barry photos of him carrying a camouflage coat, a black tree container, and a bag across the hotel lot, and asked him what items were in the bag and why he was throwing those items away. He did not provide details and could not recall the items. At 3:30 p.m., Barry sent an outgoing message to Suzanne, call me. At 5:15 p.m., Barry received an incoming call from Jean Ritter. At 5:45 p.m., Barry received another incoming call from Jean and Martin Ritter. That's the next door neighbors. At 5:57 p.m., the telematics of the F-350 registered GPS coordinates at the Holiday Inn parking lot. The previous GPS coordinates for the F-350 registered at 12:28 p.m. I hope someday we get to see a video of where they're showing him the pics. I bet his face is priceless. I love that comment. This is funny. And, we very well might. It might turn out to be like the Watts case, where they have a documentary of all live footage, nothing reenacted, nothing narrated. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we get that one of these days, because there's so much interest in this case. And let's see, where was I? At 6:03 p.m., Barry exited his hotel room wearing a black shirt with his khaki backpack on his back. I'm just thinking of what, Dora the Explorer, the monkey who's always wearing the backpack. Sorry. Got to be goofy, right? At 6:05 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Martin Ritter. At 6:06 p.m., Barry pulled his truck in front of the hotel and walked into the lobby before walking back out of the lobby at 6:08 p.m. At 6:09 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Morgan Gentile. At 6:10 p.m., that's his employee, his go-to employee. And like I mentioned before, she's very pretty young woman. We know he likes them pretty, right? And he likes them young, just like Epstein. Okay. At 6:10 p.m., Barry entered the lobby carrying 2 shovels and placed them beside the front desk. He made subsequent trips, placing more tools in the same pot. And this is one of the photographs that circulated a lot. Well, it's 2 photographs side by side, but I remember seeing this like back when this was going on. That's Barry walking into the lobby carrying a shovel and some other nasty construction equipment into a nice hotel. I mean, what a jerk. But we knew that, right? At 6:12 p.m., Barry left the hotel lot in his truck. At 6:20 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Redacted. At 7:10 p.m., Barry received an incoming call from Redacted Chaffee County Sheriff's Office. At 7:21 p.m., Barry made an outgoing call to Suzanne. At 7:33 p.m., CCSO dispatch called Barry and informed in a 1 minute and 32-second call that Suzanne's bike was found. When asked to describe the bike, Barry did not know the make, but said it was blue with colorful pedals. So here's a long footnote, number 47. This call to Suzanne was his first outgoing communication to her after learning she was probably missing. Too much delay, Barry. Following the 5:15 p.m. call from the Ritters, Barry made no independent efforts to determine whether she was simply not answering her phone due to poor cell service before he abandoned his work project, staged the tools in the lobby, and left town. The call was not answered. The location of Barry's phone was on Highway 285, approximately 75 miles from Broomfield. I didn't do the quote. Sorry. Let's see. Barry did not know the make, but said it was blue with colorful petals, end quote. Barry started crying and asked, quote, they found a bike, end quote. He said he was heading that way and asked, quote, did they find the phone, end quote. At about 10:30 p.m., Morgan Gentile arrived at the Holiday Inn Express and checked into Barry's room. Returns for Suzanne's phone and iCloud accounts. On May 28, 2020, Apple Incorporated returned records pursuant to a search warrant for Suzanne's account for email redacted that was associated with an Apple account created on January 16, 2019. This account also listed Suzanne's name, address, and phone number. Apple provides a separate identifier known as a, quote, person ID, end quote, which is understood to be unique to an individual subscriber. In those same Apple records, that person ID associated with Suzanne logged multiple updates to applications through the iTunes store, including for both LinkedIn and WhatsApp applications. This indicates that Suzanne had WhatsApp and LinkedIn installed on her device through May 9th, 2020, when the last update was logged for each. Suzanne's Verizon return. Per location coordinates received from the search warrant served on Suzanne's Verizon account, Special Agent Grushing determined that she traveled to Florida, staying in various hotels in Naples and Marco Island between January 31st, 2020 and February 16th, 2020. She communicated primarily with Sheila Oliver, Barry, Gene Mormon, and Kurt Sigler. On May 5th, 2020, Suzanne's texts and locations confirmed her trip to Gunnison to drop off Redacted, so that Redacted and Redacted could travel together. On May 6, 2020, at 8:44 a.m., Suzanne sent Redacted text, quote, "Good morning, I miss you already," end quote. Her next message was to Barry at 10:13 a.m., stating, quote, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly," end quote. And it says in parentheses, deleted from Barry's phone. On May 6th, 2020, from 2:43 p.m. to 5 p.m., Barry sent her the suicide text, which he deleted from his phone. I remember the suicide texts. Does anybody here remember the suicide texts? My goodness. What a tool. All right. On May 7th, 2020, Suzanne sent redacted videos of the cat Lulu from inside the Morphew house and exchanged messages with her. Oh, they did have a cat named Lulu? Well, that makes me happy that Suzanne had a pet. I didn't think she did. On May 7th, 2020, at 4:43 p.m., Suzanne messaged Barry, "Been studying all afternoon. I'm going to bike now." Okay, wait, quotes. "Been studying all afternoon. I'm going to bike now. I've got veggie soup on for supper," end quote. On May 7th, 2020, at 7:02 a.m., Suzanne's notes folder was last backed up, wherein she articulated over 50 grievances against Barry, one of which refers to Barry accusing her on May 6th of having a boyfriend. On May 8th, 2020, at 8:43 a.m., Suzanne sent Barry the message, quote, "Sorry I forgot about Rob Mazel last night, but I will continue to do your invoicing when you need to," end quote. On May 8th, from 9:01 a.m. to 9:28 a.m., Suzanne messaged Melinda Beaumonk, "It's hard dealing with the harsh abrasiveness and having to show respect. He's also been abusive emotionally and physical," end quote. Suzanne's Instagram account. And here's a couple of footnotes. 48, investigators noted that Barry did not ask if Suzanne was found, but he asked about the phone. Interesting. Very, very telling. 49, this text of Suzanne's offer to, quote, "continue to do your invoicing," end quote, follows her May 6th text request to, quote, "handle this civilly," end quote, and her numerous attempts to separate from Barry. Her subsequent text to her sister Melinda indicates she let the mistreatment continue for too long and she was moving in a different direction. When FBI agents showed Barry these texts during interviews in 2021, he said he did not think Suzanne was serious. He is just such a smart ass. He just thinks he can say anything and it doesn't matter if it makes sense, right? He's in control of the narrative. Special Agent Grushing interviewed Robin Binford, a friend of Suzanne's from Indiana, on June 30th, 2020. Binford had known Suzanne Morphew since middle school and was her close friend through high school. She and Suzanne have consistently communicated through Facebook and Instagram over the years. Binford stated that she had some problems with the way Suzanne supposedly went missing based upon Suzanne's normal routines. On the Saturday before the weekend Suzanne went missing, she posted an Instagram story video about her and Redacted, stating that Redacted always surprised her. Suzanne used the Instagram story to take photos to document each of her bike rides. Binford said that upon hearing that Suzanne went missing, she checked She checked Instagram and found that Suzanne did not post anything about the ride. Binford knew that Suzanne was still grieving over losing her mother within the past 2 years or so, and that Mother's Day was going to be a difficult day for her. Binford did not think that Suzanne would choose to spend the day without her girls or husband. Now, I thought Suzanne's parents were divorced, but now I'm not sure. That might be inaccurate. Let's see. Binford did not think that Suzanne would choose to spend that day without her girls and husband. Well, yeah, it's Mother's Day. Come on. From a review of Suzanne Morphew's Instagram account obtained through a search warrant in the state of Colorado, the attached pictures of her, often in biking outfits, were located with the dates May 6, 2020, 4:30 p.m. with location Little Rainbow Trail, April 27th, 2020, 4:36 p.m. with location Mount Shavano, 4/20/2020, 2:18 p.m. with location of Methodist Mountain, and captions first single track, end quote, and quote, broke my first chain, smiling emoji. All right. So these are the lovely photos, the lovely selfies that she took. I mean, that's pretty bold and brazen to go biking alone in these areas, if you wiped out or something, or a cat got you, right? A bobcat. Search warrant, redacted phone. Per the Verizon warrant served on redacted cell phone, the following message was sent from redacted on May 10th, 2020 at 3:50 p.m., over an hour before Martin Ritter reported her missing. I'm just so sad, and redacted and I texted Mom for Mother's Day, and she still hasn't answered, and I'm scared. Her and Dad probably got in a big fight, and I don't even know. It just makes me want to be gone even more because I don't want to be around them. It hurts. And I know if redacted is working, I might have to be home a lot more, and it'll probably be the worst summer of my life. So that whole thing was in quotes. I'm just so sad. I'm going to reread it because that is heavy duty. I'm just so sad, and redacted and I texted Mom for Mother's Day, and she still hasn't answered, and I'm scared her and Dad probably got in a big fight, and I don't even know. It just made me want to be gone even more because I don't want to be around them. It hurts me, and I know if redacted is working, I might have to be home a lot more, and it'll probably be the worst summer of my life, end quote. Wow. Ominous. Scratches on Barry's arm. On May 13th, 2020, CCSO Deputy Caricato took photos of scratches on Barry's left arm. And let's see if you can see this. They're pretty severe, pretty significant. Might be hard. You can see his arm. You can kind of see some marks on it. And, this is 3 or 4 days after, allegedly. Canine search on May 23rd, 2020. On May 23rd, 2020, search teams along with canines and canine handlers, bloodhound man trackers, necrosearch, searched the 19507 Puma Path property. During this search, 3 different canines were used. Each of the 3 canines were ran blindly and individually during the search. On the west area of the driveway parking area, where a flatbed trailer and bobcat skid steer are parked, all 3 canines trained final responses. And it has an end quote, but I don't see the beginning quote. It's right here. All 3 canines trained final response, end quote. alerted the canines used have been trained in a specific way to alert their handlers when they detect possible human decomp remains on top of the trailer. It should be noted on the bed of the trailer there is gravel and dirt. This is an area the canines alerted. All 3 canines again alerted on the Bobcat. And one of the canines jumped into the Bobcat and tried to lay down on the driver's seat. Aww. The Bobcat located on the Morpheus property is identified as a 2018 Bobcat compact skid steer, model number and product identification number. The flatbed trailer and Bobcat skid steer are parked directly next to each other. Bobcat SIM removed. Ooh, there's a SIM card on the Bobcat? Ha ha ha. Yikes, Barry. Didn't think of that, did he? On May 28th, 2020, Deputy Randy Caricato, with the assistance of FBI Special Agent David Donati, removed the SIM card from the device. One sec. That is exciting. This is the device Agent Graham learned about that Barry had on his Bobcat skid steer. This device utilizes Verizon Connect services and is a GPS tracking device. Special Agent Hoyland spoke with Special Agent Donati and requested a search warrant be applied for to obtain what data this SIM card may contain. At present, Barry's use of the Bobcat does not appear to be connected to Suzanne's disappearance. Bank accounts. On May 20th, 2020, your affiant served search warrants to Equifax and TransUnion to identify what credit accounts Suzanne and Barry would have currently and or at the time frame of Suzanne's disappearance. This information was necessary to establish a pattern of life for both Suzanne and Barry, as well as proof of life for Suzanne. On May 28th, 2020, Equifax and TransUnion provided the following are open and accounts for Suzanne and Barry. 1, Indiana Members Credit Union. 2, Capital One, Cabela's. 3, Discover. 4, Community Bank, Victoria's Secret. 5, Fifth Third Bank. 6, Credit One. Your affiant has served warrants on these accounts, and the results are being compiled and analyzed by the FBI and a private forensic accountant. Indiana Members Credit Union. On June 6, 2020, your affiant served via email a search warrant to Indiana Members Credit Union requesting bank records for the Morpheus. On June 9th, your affiant received via email from Deborah Morale, Loss Prevention Manager, the request records for the Morpheus account. With the records, there is documentation that on June 5th, 2020, Barry called the bank and requested his email address be changed from redacted. Collegiate Peaks Bank. Per search warrant served by your affiant on Collegiate Peaks Bank on May 26, 2020, Barry withdrew $5,846.22 in the Suzanne Morphew Foundation account, which brought the balance to zero. Oh, God, he's such a sick MF. The account was opened March 5th, 2020, with a deposit of $5,880. So it made $46.22 in those 2 months. Let's see. Possible second device for Barry. Ooh, burner phone. Burner phone. Bahaha. I bet he didn't know the Bobcat had a SIM card. I've never heard of that. Yeah, I bet he did not know. But it's funny, it says that at this point they don't see any connection. Although, what about the footprints? My goodness. The footprint, I think, is just one in the bucket of the Bobcat. That is really AF. So possible second device for Barry. This might be good. On June 11th, 2020, your affiant received information, and thanks so much for being here for Fireflies. It keeps me entertained. And the dog laying on it. Right. The dog, all three dogs alerted to the Bobcat that the one dog went and laid in on the driver's seat, it sounded like. But yeah, Barry would have had smell on his person if he did what it appears that he did, allegedly. On June 11th, 2020, your affiant received information from FBI Special Agent Grushing and computer scientist Brian Turner that while reviewing the data from the cell phone extraction of Barry's iPhone, they found a second device. And here's the user ID number. Identifier redacted, was associated with Barry's iPhone with an SMS on May 8th, 2020. This user ID is separate from the primary user ID. Identifier redacted. Excuse me. Oh, you're welcome. Ha ha ha. Thank you for reading this. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing myself a favor too, because, when I read it last night, like I said, I skimmed over a lot of it. So it's nice to get all these, all the nitty gritty. It's important to me. This second device was first used on November 30th, 2019, and was associated with Barry's iPhone 91 times since then, compared to 1,701 associations with the primary user ID since November 2019. Dates this device was associated with Barry's iPhone since May 5th, 2020, once on May 5th, twice on May 10th, 3 times on May 11th, and 1 time on May 12th. As of this present date, the second device has not been identified. FBI proof of life fugitive searches. Per the request of the FBI Special Agent Grushing, with the assistance of the FBI Safe Streets Task Force, the following searches were done through FBI and its federal partners in attempts to locate Suzanne if she was a fugitive or missing person. On August 26, 2020, Agent Brian Palmer, Homeland Security Investigations, Denver, Colorado, checked border crossings for Suzanne R. Morphew or Suzanne R. Mormon. Date of birth, April 30th, 1971. Redacted, and provided the following text. And it's just got a picture of her. I don't know if it's her driver's license picture. She is so photogenic. My goodness. What a cutie. I don't have any land border crossings for her. The last travel I have was her returning from San Jose, Mexico to Dallas, Texas on December 2nd, 2019 on America Airlines flight 1385. And you're welcome for Fireflies for reading this. My pleasure. It is a lot of work, but it really is my pleasure because, like I said, I get to learn it more better too. On August 25th, 2020, FBI Special Agent Martin Danielle requested flight information from a national airlines reporting agency and found flights for Suzanne on July 24th, 2019, July 28th, 2019, August 13th, 2019, and August 17th, 2019. More flights were located for a Suzanne Mormon in April 2020, but this person did not appear to be identical to Suzanne. On August 24th, 2020, Patricia T. Ellswick, a technical information specialist, FBI Division, Global Law Enforcement Support Section, NCIC Operations and Policy Unit Investigative and Operational Assistance Group, provided emails of the offline records checks for any law enforcement queries of Suzanne. The spreadsheets provided multiple queries from Chaffee County Sheriff's Office and the Colorado CBI. From May 10th to the 12th, 2020. SHP Cheyenne redacted queried her on May 13th, 2020, and Loveland PD redacted queried her once on May 14th, 2020, both during the widespread news stories. Besides other CCSO, CBI, and FBI queries from the Colorado offices in June and July 2020, the Okishibu, am I saying that right? Okiobi. It's a fun word to say. I think I got it. Okiobi. It's like Okeechobeee. Okeechobee. Okeechobee. Yeah, Okeechobee. I know that word from a fun little camp thing. Okeechobee. All right, sorry. The Okeechobee Sheriff's Office in Florida queried Suzanne Morphew, date of birth 4/30/71, and quote 3 times on July 10th, 2020. On August 25th, 2020, Special Agent Grushing spoke with the dispatch operator, Joanne, for Okeechobee Sheriff's Office and learned that the CBI requested a welfare check for Suzanne Morphew because of the Okeechobee address for her father, Gene Mormon. Suzanne was not located. Wyoming State Highway Patrol Dispatch and Loveland PD Dispatch confirmed to Special Agent Grushing on September 1st, 2020, that they had no contact with Suzanne, but were simply running an attempt to locate based on CCSO's entry. On August 25th, 2020, FBI Operation Support Technician, OST, Dana Plumhoff provided the following checks per the request of Special Agent Grushing. Nothing of significance in Suzanne's clear report. No activity tied to her since 2019. And then there's a footnote. This photo of Suzanne was used for the FBI requests sent to HSI and other entities named in this section. Suzanne R. Morphew Hope Foundation was first filed in Indiana in 2012. It was registered as a nonprofit with Colorado Secretary of State February 21st, 2020 by Barry Morphew at 19057 Puma Path, Salida, Colorado. OST Plumhoff further noted that as of May 11th, 2020, CCSO entered Suzanne as a missing person in the National Crime Information Center NCIC database. For checks in Accurant, nothing significant was found by OST Plumhoff for Suzanne besides her ties to the Puma Path address in Salida as of May 2020. No electric or utilities were found in her name. Her Social Security has not been used since May 2020. No new physical addresses or P.O. boxes for her name or Social Security number were located. nor were any liens, judgments, or loans accrued under her name. On August 26, 2020, FBI SOS Kelly Rose Olson requested a nationwide facial analysis comparison and evaluation services search for Suzanne Morphew using the photo above. This service, through the FBI's Criminal Justice Information Services system, compares the photo of Suzanne to the issuance of visas and passports, driver's license photos from 18 states and the Department of Defense automated biometric identification system. To date, none of these databases have provided any biometrics that match those of Suzanne. Anna Bees, hello, my dear. Oh my gosh, you're here. I'm back. Oh, you're the best. You both are the best. Yeah, Fireflies has been here almost the whole time. I've been on just over an hour. And what page am I on? Let's see. I am on page 44 of 129. For checks in the internal FBI database, several financial related results on Suzanne and Barry were referenced from 2013 to 2018. It appears they had access to large amounts of cash. The reporting parties were concerned about money structuring. On June 24th, 2020, Barry made a $20,000 deposit at Collegiate Peaks Bank in Salida on Suzanne's behalf. He has a history of making large cash deposits and wire transfers. I'll have to listen to the beginning later. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of tedious information, but I think it's worthwhile for sure. Otherwise, I wouldn't be wasting my time. The same checks for Suzanne's proof of life were conducted in March 2021 by the FBI with the same negative results. CBI laboratory results. On June 3rd, 2020, the CBI laboratory, hereafter CBI lab, provided the results of DNA analysis for CCSO case 2000911. 65 evidence items to include DNA buccal swabs from the Morphew family members, Andrew Mormon, redacted, and others were listed. Of note, no workable DNA was recovered from the Bobcat blade, the PNUE dart box, or the dryer. On August 31st, 2020, Special Agent Grushing reviewed the lab results with CBI lab forensic scientist Caitlin Rogers to discuss the results of this affidavit. The following items were noted. Let me take a drink of my carrot juice. You know what I just thought of? Imagine if the Idaho 4 report were this detailed. It's not going to be because it's crap. Bushy eyebrows. Give me a break. Okay, let's see. Following items were noted. The DNA on the bicycle seat, item 5.1, included a mixture of 4 people, Suzanne being the primary, with Barry and one of the responding CCSO personnel, Caricato, being included. The 4th male is unknown. The DNA on the bicycle grips, item 6.1, included a DNA mixture of 4 people, Suzanne and Sergeant Molinax being primary contributors. Barry was excluded as a contributor. Yeah, she'd had the bike worked on, looked at real recent. Very interesting case. I can't believe they didn't go through the trial before even finding her body. Yeah, I know. It's so good that they didn't, because it's just a lot harder to convict, reasonable doubt, right? Idaho 4 is so messed up. It's so absurd, as is the Karen Reed trial. Like, are they going to find other suspects and try them? I doubt it. They're just going to act like they have no idea, like the boogeyman did it. Or misadventure with, yeah. Okay. The DNA on the bicycle brakes and handlebars, item 7.1, included a mixture of 4 people. Suzanne, Deputy Brown, and Deputy Himshoot were primary contributors. Barry was excluded. And footnote 51, this mixture is at least 12 decillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Barry Morphew, Caricato, Suzanne Morphew, and an unknown, unrelated individual than if it originated from Suzanne Morphew and 3 unknown, unrelated individuals. Very strong support. The front driver door, item 25.1 of the 2015 white Land Rover, was tested, and the DNA was consistent with samples from Barry and Suzanne. Redacted and redacted were excluded. A plastic hypodermic cover, item 41, this is key evidence right here, collected from the dryer, was tested by CBI for DNA. A low-level partial DNA mixture of 2 people were recovered, with Suzanne and redacted being possible contributors. Barry was excluded as a contributor. Wow. So Suzanne and one of the girls. A dart needle, item 44.1, collected by CCSO, submitted as dart from box in garage, was swabbed and a partial DNA profile was developed, with Barry included as a contributor with moderate support. The dart body, item 44.2, collected by CCSO, submitted as dart from box in garage, was swabbed, and a low-level DNA profile referenced that redacted could have been a contributor. The interior cushions of the helmet, item 49.2, were tested for DNA, and a partial profile was developed. The mixture was more likely to involve Barry and Suzanne that coming from anyone else by a factor of 6.2 times. I think they meant than coming from anyone else. Barry's liquidation of assets. Ooh. Within a month of Suzanne's disappearance, Barry began to liquidate their assets. On June 1st, 2020, Barry petitioned for guardianship in Hamilton County, Indiana, of Suzanne for him to act as her guardian. This filing allowed Barry to sign documents on Suzanne's behalf and sell their residences in Indiana and Colorado. Redacted filed consent for the guardianship. Below are some screenshots of the court documents. Petition for appointment of guardian over Suzanne Morphew, a missing person. This, and here's a footnote, 52, this mixture is at least 46 decillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Barry Morphew and Suzanne Morphew than if it originated from 2 unknown, unrelated individuals. Very strong support. So yeah, I don't know about reading what's on the, it's short. I'll just go ahead and read it. What's on the petition for appointment of guardian over Suzanne Morphew, a missing person. Barry Morphew, petitioner herein, being first duty sworn, petitions this court to appoint a guardian of Suzanne Morphew, and in support of this petition states as follows: name, age, residence, and address of alleged incapacitated person. The alleged incapacitated person, Suzanne Morphew, is an adult person who is 49, date of birth 4/30/71, years of age, and resides at 19057 Puma Path, Salida, Colorado 81201. Currently, she is a missing person, having left her residence on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 10th, 2020, and having not been seen since. Petitioner requests the court to take judicial notice of the investigation surrounding her disappearance, which can be easily located upon an internet search. Sherry, hello, hello. Nice to see you. How are you tonight? Let's see. 2, nature of disability. Suzanne Morphew is deemed incapacitated under Indiana law because she cannot be located upon reasonable inquiry. 14, the need exists for the appointment of a guardian. So it skips from 2 to 14. The need exists for the appointment of a guardian of the alleged incapacitated person in that she cannot be located upon reasonable inquiry and property in Hamilton County. Indiana needs to be sold. Wherefore, your petitioner prays the court to enter an order. 1, enter an order waiving notice and hearing. 2, finding all necessary consents and waivers of notice and hearing have been secured and filed from all interested persons. 3, adjudicate that Suzanne Morphew is an incapacitated person. 4, finding that a guardian of the estate of Suzanne Morphew needs to be appointed. 5, finding that Barry Morphew is a suitable person to serve as the guardian of the estate of Suzanne Morphew. 6, appointing Barry Morphew as the guardian of the estate of Suzanne Morphew. He's so sick. Takes her life and takes everything she owns. Allegedly. 7, approve the sale of Hamilton County real estate in the protected person's name. 8, waiving bond, inventory, and accountings. And 9, for all other relief which is proper in the premises. Signed, Barry Morphew, petitioner. I hereby affirm under the penalties of perjury that the facts contained in the foregoing are true to the best of my knowledge, information, or belief. On June 6th, 2020, Barry closed on the 26040 Cal Carson Road, Arcadia, Indiana property with a closing price of $750,000. Your affiant served Bank of the West a search warrant for accounts associated to Barry and Suzanne Morphew. For an account of redacted and Barry Morphew, redacted, there is a deposit dated February 24th, 2020 for $40,000 from Monex. On June 19th, 2020, there is a check written to Barry Morphew. The signer appears to be redacted in the amount of $30,000. On July 1st, 2020, Kent Townsend told your affiant that on June 25th, 2020, Barry paid $160,000 for the Lot 8 property at Longhorn Ranch in Salida. Barry sold this back to Townsend on February 17th, 2021 for $150,000. Ooh, $10,000 loss. That's not good. That shows maybe some desperation or something, possibly. Or there could have been a market decrease. We'll see. We might see. Always keep an open mind, right? Let's see.
I didn't say what I meant. My brain is spent. I meant there seems to be enough circumstantial evidence to go to trial, even without a body. But yes, it's good that they found her. Yeah, absolutely, Annabise. I agree. Like, it's a really strong case without a body. So, with a body, I think they're very confident. So, hopefully, not overly confident. My brain is mush too, Anna. Ugh, it's late. Same here, girls. Aw, Sherry. Yeah, mine's starting to fade a little bit. I'm going to try to keep reading as much as I can. Um, where was I? Where was I? Let me see. I think right here. Yeah, the $10,000 loss. Here we go. On July 13th, 2020, Barry initiated a title change for Suzanne's Range Rover, selling it to Troy and Elizabeth Riley of Deputy, Indiana on July 16th, 2020. On March 3rd, 2021, the recorder's office in Salida informed your affiant that they had just received special warranty deed that the 19057 Puma Path had sold to Mountain Renewal LLC for $1,625,000. Section 5 interviews. Morgan interview May 14th, 2020. And here's a footnote number 53. Suzanne's list of grievances cites a transaction such as this one involving Monex, and she mentions one involving redacted Libler shortly before she disappears. So I'm on page 46 of 129. Let's at least try to get to page 50, but we'll see how it is if and when we get there. It's just been about 90 minutes. On May 14th, 2020, that would be 20 pages tonight. Let's see. On May 14th, 2020, Colorado Bureau of Investigation CBI agents Kevin Kobach. Remember I said that there were Kevin Kobach is from the Watts case, for anybody who doesn't know. That is so wild. I knew that there were state agents that worked on both this case and the Watts case. Kevin Kobach and Joseph Cahill conducted a consensual record interview with Morgan Ann Gentile in Salida, Colorado. So she was Barry's favorite employee. Did Suzanne have life insurance? I think she did for Fireflies. Super good question. And I think that was some of the paperwork that Barry had with him at the Holiday Inn Express was life insurance paperwork. I think. Don't quote me on that. Let's see if it's in here. It probably will be at some point. Let's see. But yeah, she definitely had life insurance. Again, I think I should always keep the door open in case I'm incorrect, right? Because I don't know. I wasn't there. I've never seen the document. It's not mine. All right, where was I? Morgan stated that around July 2019, she returned to Salida and started work at Discipline Structures Incorporated, DSI. She first met Barry through DSI, and they have worked together frequently. In January 2020, Morgan was terminated from DSI over allegations she used illegal drugs, though she asserted she did not use drugs. After she was terminated, Barry hired her as a contractor for his company, Sunset Farms Landscaping. Barry frequently talks to Morgan about his two daughters. He has never spoken of any marital or other family issues. Barry told Morgan about the Broomfield job sometime in mid-April 2020. Morgan stated the job was supposed to take place between April 23rd, 2020 and April 30th, 2020. However, she was not sure of the exact date. Barry then changed the job to take place on or about the first week of May. Barry then rescheduled the job to begin on May 11th. Excuse me. Morgan stated on May 8th, 2020, Barry picked her up from Anytime Fitness, 9985 Highway 50. I think he got picked up by the police outside of Anytime Fitness the first time he was arrested, right? Am I remembering that accurately? They traveled to a job site at 6962 County Road 105, Salida. They arrived at around 8 a.m., completed a Rock Beach project, and left. At around 11 a.m., Barry took her back to her vehicle by Anytime Fitness, paid her in cash for the job, and left. Morgan stated that Barry mentioned he was going hiking or biking. Excuse me. All of a sudden choking on air. Let's see if I can deal with it and keep reading. I'm glad I have my ice water. That's so good. What a bastard. Yeah. Did Suzanne have life insurance? Yeah. Sorry that I missed the what a bastard. That's a great comment, Annabise. Okay. Where was I when I choked on thin air? I mean, that was thick air. That's why I choked. Here we go. Hurry, someone get Jazz some hot tea with honey. Oh, you're cute. The ice water is great. And I probably have a cough drop. Let me see. I think I have one in my purse right here. I might in the bottom of my purse, you know, those cough drops that have been in there for years. But no, it hasn't been in there for that long. I might have used it recently, but I know there was one swimming around in the bottom here. Let's hope. Let's hope. Oh, it looks like I might have used it. I kind of keep cough drops on hand because I need them fairly frequently. Dang it, it's not in here. And I'm sure I have some in this room. I just wouldn't know where exactly. But let me see if it's in any of these little pockets. And I want that to go away. I got lots of chapsticks, lots of lotions, and lots of pens. I don't need that many, do I? Just one. Oh, I almost thought that there was a cough drop. Dang it. And I've got hand sanding. I've got nail polish. I've got Sudafed. Again, I almost thought I had one. That's just a hair tie. And I've got my concealer. No. Oh, wait. No, I've got a Dum Dum. That'll work. I think it's peach, which is like my favorite. I've got a Dum Dum. Isn't that hilarious? That's because I have kids and they give them out at the bank. Yeah, it is peach. So I'll just pretend it's a cough drop. It's much more delicious than a cough drop. But it should help, right? Okay. That was fun. And there's the kitchen sink. Purse dirt flavored cough drop. Okay. My Calypso Clementine hand lotion. I'm going to use it because I love it so much. Hopefully you guys can smell it through the computer. Oh no. And now my thing went away. My purse is the exact same way. Well, I do clean it out pretty frequently. So I probably haven't cleaned it out in like roughly a month, but at least it hasn't been like 6 months. I mean, that can be terrible. But yeah, I like to, what I do is I dump it out like into a box or a basket or something. I just dump everything out and then I just throw in there what I need. But then I continuously throw in more chapsticks and more pens than I need, more hair ties than I need. Okay, here we go again. I think I will probably have to stop at about 50. Where were we? I think right here, right after the hiking or biking. Barry was supposed to pick Morgan up around 5 p.m. on Sunday, May 10th to drive to a hotel in Broomfield, Colorado. Cassidy Cordova was supposed to drive up separately and meet them on Monday, May 11th. Morgan stated that at around 4 a.m. on May 10th, she was confident she heard Barry's Ford F-350 drive eastbound past her house on Highway 50. Morgan stated she did not see the truck, but that his truck has a very distinctive exhaust. At about 11:18 a.m. on May 10th, Barry called Morgan and explained she needed to bring an additional person because of the amount of work needed to repair the wall. She agreed she would bring another contractor, Jeff Puckett. Barry never provided an explanation why he left earlier or why he did not pick her up. Morgan stated she later picked up Jeff and drove towards Broomfield. At about 6:09 p.m., Barry called and said he had a family emergency and had to return to Salida. Barry had left tools at the hotel and said he would call her the next day. On May 11th, 2020, at about 7 a.m., Barry called Morgan and said that Suzanne was missing and he thought a mountain lion may have attacked her. Sorry to laugh. Morgan explained that Barry was initially crying, but then abruptly shifted into the specifics about the Broomfield job. Morgan adamantly denied there was ever any type of sexual relationship between her and Barry. I find that hard to believe just because of the way Barry is and because she is an attractive woman, but it might be true. Let's see. Jeff Puckett interview. On May 14th, 2020, investigator Richard Wren interviewed Jeff Puckett. Puckett was one of the workers who was supposed to meet Barry Morphew in Broomfield on May 10th, 2020, to complete a landscape job. Puckett stated that he was contacted by Morgan on Sunday, May 10th, to see if he wanted to go to Denver to work on a job for Barry. After being asked by Morgan, Puckett contacted Barry directly. Puckett had no knowledge of the job until he was contacted by Morgan. On Monday, Puckett and Morgan met up with Cassidy Cordova, who was helping them with the job, and then the Cassidy Cordova interview. On May 14th, 2020, investigator Richard Wren interviewed Cassidy Cordova. Cordova advised he had contact with Barry Morphew early on the week of May 4th, and Barry mentioned that he may need Cordova to help with a job in Denver next week. Barry said that he would get back with Cordova later if he was for sure needed. On May 10th, Cordova had not heard from Barry, so he called him at about 1:45 p.m. to ask about the job. Barry asked Cordova to help with the job since Cordova, was already in Colorado Springs. Cordova met the rest of the crew in Denver on Monday morning. Cordova advised he has known Barry for about 2 years because they worked together at DSI. Cordova advised that Cody Cox had an issue with Barry over Barry firing him. Cox had been working for Morphew also. Cody Cox interview. We're coming close to 2 hours. We'll see what happens here. Choking on water again. Maybe I do need to wrap it up. I don't want to. I want to get just a little further. I was thinking maybe I could try to go for 20 more minutes. But let's see. Where was I? Cody Cox interview on May 14th, 2020. Investigator Richard Wren interviewed Cody. Cox worked with Barry and for Barry's landscape business. Cox and Cordova did a landscape job in Broomfield between August of 2019 and December of 2019. The general contractor did not like the job and it had to be repaired several times. After the last attempt to fix the wall, Cox refused to go back to Denver to fix the wall. Barry fired Cox. At the same time, Cox was given the ultimatum to leave DSI or be fired because of a hot urinalysis test. Cox left DSI. I've never heard it called a hot urinalysis test. Okay. That air that I swallowed. I got to be more careful when I'm breathing and drinking water. Everything's so dangerous. Okay. Cox advised that this all happened around the end of December 2019. Cox was asked about the information that he wanted to kick Barry's ass. Cox advised that rumor was started by Jeff Puckett. Cox said that he was not happy about getting fired, but was not going around saying he wanted to fight Barry. Cox advised he had met Suzanne and talked about how she had brought cookies to his kids. He described Suzanne as a very nice lady. He denied having done anything to Suzanne and denied knowing what happened to Suzanne. Cox advised that Barry never talked bad about his relationship with Suzanne. During a subsequent interview on May 22nd, 2020, Cox stated he does not recall ever telling Puckett he wanted to beat up Barry. Second Sheila Oliver interview. On May 14th, 2020, Sheila Oliver was interviewed by FBI agent William Rowell. Sheila said that she first met Suzanne when they were roommates and students together at Purdue University, West Lafayette, Indiana. Oh, I thought it was Fort Wayne. My bad. West Lafayette, Indiana. Unless there's like 2 locations, which there could be. About 1990, Suzanne married Barry in August of 1994. Both families have children in the same age ranges and have raised their kids closely. About 2 years ago, the Morphew's daughter, redacted, went to college in Colorado, Western State College in Gunnison, and that would be Mallory. The Morphews then moved to Colorado in 2018. They didn't have their home sold in Indiana before they left. The move seemed to be in a rush. Yeah, Barry had gotten into something with somebody. I think they get into it here, if not here soon. Barry was domineering in the marriage with Suzanne. He would tell her she had to change in order for them to get along. Money was a big issue between them. Barry was very controlling with money. He insisted Suzanne use cash, but he would charge hunting equipment on his credit card. He invested in the silver market and then it bottomed out. Suzanne did not stand up for herself until recently. The marriage had become very rocky by 2018. There was hope a move to Colorado, making a new start, would help things. There was never a definite reason for Mallory going to college in Colorado and the family moving there. Suzanne thought it would be nice for them to live near Mallory, though. Suzanne came back to visit Sheila twice from Colorado, once on Thanksgiving 2018, while the Morphews were still trying to sell their house in Indiana. While Suzanne was at the Olivers' house, she had stepped away from her cell phone to use the bathroom, and Barry tried calling her several times within a few minutes. Then tried calling Sheila, then tried calling Darren. He was persistent and obsessive about knowing where she was, at least when she was with Sheila. The other time was July 2019, when Suzanne returned to Indiana to visit Sheila and then went to Michigan to visit her dad. Barry called Sheila saying he couldn't get in touch with Suzanne. Suzanne told Sheila this was odd because Barry never bothered to call Suzanne any other times. He was just very persistent in checking up on Suzanne when she was with Sheila. The Olivers' daughter, Hannah, was married on Sunday, May 10th. Oh, this is the one that they did the virtual wedding thing, kind of like a Zoom wedding. The Olivers' daughter, Hannah, was married on Sunday, May 10th. And of course, Suzanne wasn't there. 2020. Hannah was like a daughter to Suzanne. The wedding was originally going to include many people and Suzanne was going to attend, but due to COVID-19 restrictions, it was limited to immediate family and was live streamed online. Suzanne was going to watch it. She would not have missed it for the world. On Saturday, May 9th, 2020, Sheila sent 2 snaps to Suzanne in the morning, which were opened. Later in the evening, Sheila sent 3 more snaps to Suzanne, which were never opened or received, as reflected on Sheila's cell phone. Sheila stated there is a 0% chance that Suzanne would run off and not at least tell one of her daughters or Sheila. If she had left Barry, she would have contacted one of her daughters or Sheila to let them know what was going on. Suzanne would not commit suicide. Her religious beliefs would not allow her to do this. Sheila said Suzanne suspected Barry had an extramarital affair based on Barry's behavior, which included him turning his phone off at times, not being where he said he would be, always secretive and not honest with Suzanne. He had to travel back to Hamilton County, Indiana, for some type of legal proceeding at least once, but maybe more. Suzanne had given up asking him why he wouldn't tell her. Why? Because he wouldn't tell her. See, I think it was because of this physical altercation that he got involved with a guy at work. We'll see. Keep reading. As Suzanne's suspicions were aroused over the last few years, she wanted to find out what her husband was up to. She wanted to buy a spy pen to find out what he was doing, but was afraid of Barry's reaction if he found out. Suzanne asked Sheila to buy the pen for her on the internet. Sheila did this and gave the pen to Suzanne while they were on vacation together in Florida a few months ago, around February 2020. George Davis interview. That's the neighbor friend, the one that's been deployed like 40 times. I mean, 40,000 times. On May 15th, 2020, CBI agents Graham and Cahill interviewed George Davis, who stated he has known Barry for approximately a year and a half. Oh, that's hilarious, because Barry acts like they were babies together. They're attached at the hip. George stated he has not noticed any recent changes in Barry's behavior. George explained that he and Barry work out together, usually 5 days a week. Once the COVID-19 restrictions closed the gym, they began working out at George's residence. Ooh, sounds like a bromance to me. George explained Barry typically comes over to work out somewhere between 1,700 to 1,900 hours. George stated he and Barry hunt together and work at the same fire station, number 5. George stated he last physically saw Barry either Thursday or Friday when they worked out at his house. George explained since he works 1 week on, 1 week off, he believed they may have worked out earlier around 4 p.m. My eyes are crossing. Hugs to you all. Thanks for tonight. See you all soon. Sweet dreams. Yes, you too. Thanks for saying good night and thanks for being here. I'm going to try to finish it tomorrow. So I'm going to try to do like, I can get it all accomplished. And then if not, and I'll try to post it in advance so you know what time. George stated has never confided in him about any type of marital problems. George stated Barry loves his children and his relationship with Suzanne seemed normal. George explained he and his wife, Lindsay Davis, have gone on several dates with Barry and Suzanne. George stated on Sunday, May 10th, 2020, he was at his residence when he received a phone call from CCFDD Lieutenant Tim Nelson, who informed him a bike was located over an embankment by Barry's house. Let me read this little footnote 54. This June 2019 visit to Michigan was consistent with Suzanne meeting Jeff Leibler and Barry suspecting she was having an affair, thus his calls to Sheila. George stated he turned on his fire radio and called Barry. Barry stated he was just outside Buena Vista on his way back. George believed he called Barry between 5:30 and 6 p.m. George stated he responded to the area where Suzanne's bike was found. When he arrived, he noted the bike had been moved onto the road near a sheriff's vehicle. While still at the scene of the bike, George stated he arrived in his black Ford F-350. Barry was wearing jeans and possibly a red-orange flannel, end quote, shirt. George had conversations with CBI and FBI about his observations and conclusions that an abduction had taken place with a staged scene. Morgan Gentile interview, May 15th. On May 15th, 2020, CBI agents Cahill and Kobach contacted Morgan at her residence in Salida. Morgan spoke about conversations that George Davis had with her in which George might be attempting to influence her future testimony. Wow, already that fast. What a scumbag. Morgan stated that she had recalled some additional detail about the hotel in Broomfield. Morgan explained after she and Jeff Puckett checked in, they went to their rooms. Jeff went to room 225, the one originally rented and used by Barry, and she went to room 228. Morgan explained that Jeff could not figure out how to open the hotel room door, so she opened it. Morgan explained when she opened the door, she immediately smelled the strong odor of chlorine. Morgan stated this was not the ordinary house cleaning odor. It was more consistent with what you'd smell with a pool. Morgan stated she observed several damp and used towels on the floor. Later, Morgan stated that Jeff found an insurance document under the pillow. The document was thrown in the trash. She could not recall what was on the document. When questioned about the job sites on Saturday, May 9th, 2020, Morgan stated she recalled an odd comment made by Barry. Morgan explained after they completed the beach at the River House, 6962 County Road 105 Salida, she rode with Barry to the next site. Morgan stated she commented pigs could eat an entire human body in 2 hours. Barry commented that he would be able to bury a body and it would never be found, quote unquote. Wow. What a conversation. We spoke with Morgan about Barry's financial activities. Morgan stated Barry contacted his stock trader, Dan, heard over the phone with an English type accent. Morgan stated he spoke to Dan on a daily basis. Morgan timeline to CCSO, July 29th. On July 29th, 2020, Morgan Gentile provided a handwritten timeline to CCSO Sheriff John Speasy. The following lines were noted by Special Agent Grushing for the affidavit. For Sunday, May 10th, Morgan wrote that she heard Barry's truck at 5 a.m. She added, quote, 11:15, Barry called. He was out of breath, panting, but fatigue, kind of like hungover, but he doesn't drink. Honestly, when I hung up, I thought to myself, he sounded like he had the worst night of his life, end quote. I remember that quote. Sounded like he had the worst night of his life. That's pretty specific of a description. Morgan provided more details about her trip to the Broomfield Hotel to include her route. On May 10th, she wrote, arrived at hotel 10 o'clock to 10:30, grabbed Barry's tools, went to check in. Morgan wrote that she and Puckett checked in rooms 228 and 225. When Morgan walked in 225, the smell of chlorine was so strong, made my eyes water. I noticed wet towels on the ground in the bathroom, and Barry made the bed. For Monday, May 11th, Morgan wrote that they drove to the job site from the hotel. She indicated it looked like Barry had removed top caps. That was it. We also did not have the tools we need, like a packer or gravel. Interview of John Schmitz. That is very specific. The worst night of his life. And I did not put this in quotes. It looked like Barry had removed the top caps and that was it. We also did not have the tools we need, like a packer or gravel, end quote. Interview with John Schmitz. On May 16th, 2020, CBI agent Gonzalez contacted John Schmitz regarding a message he had left on the Suzanne Morphew tip line. And that's the one that contacted me, Gonzalez. Schmitz stated that he first met Barry in or about December of 2017 when they were working on the same construction project in Indianapolis. He said that Schmitz, is a contractor and Barry was the landscaper assigned to the Main Street Shops project. Schmitz stated that at some point during an altercation with Barry body bumped him, which prompted Schmitz to grab him in a headlock and pin him against a wall. Okay. Yeah, so this is the huge amount of trouble that he had. He said that what he recalls the most during that altercation was the evil in Barry's eyes. Schmidt said that when he heard about Suzanne, he just had a feeling that it was not good, knowing what he does about Barry. Schmitz stated that in May of 2018, do you see what I mean? Like how I couldn't put this down last night? I think I'm going to have the same trouble tonight. Yeah. Schmitz stated that in May 2018, he and Barry were charged with disorderly conduct by the Boone County Sheriff's Office for the incident that occurred in December of 2017. He said that the case had been continued until February of 2019, when all charges were dropped. Brad Oswald interview. I'm going to try to wrap up soon, but I got to find out what Brad said. On May 17th, 2020, CBI agent Kobach interviewed Brad Oswald, an Indiana resident and deputy sheriff in Hamilton County. Yes, this is lit. Yeah, I can't remember what this is, but I remember it being extremely interesting. So here we go. Oswald stated that he has known Barry 20 years and they are good friends. Oswald came to Barry's house in 2019 to hunt in a preserve south of Salida. Oswald knew that Barry got into a fight with another guy in Indiana over the other party not wanting to move scaffolding on a construction site. Oswald described Barry as hard-headed and strong-willed. He added that he was afraid to say what I think, but I think Barry was so pissed off he accidentally killed her, end quote. Oswald guessed that Barry and Suzanne were fighting, or she confronted him and that caused him to lose his temper. Oswald said that Barry had all night to plan how to get rid of her. Barry was big time controlling over Suzanne. Yeah, this is lit. Oswald said that Barry is very secretive and that he would not talk to anyone if he did something. Barry is an excellent skid loader operator and go do incredible things with a skid loader. Oswald said that Barry could have easily buried Suzanne and that Barry is smart enough to turn off his phone or leave it at home. Oswald stated that Barry is never wrong. He added that Barry is very prideful and would never confess to killing Suzanne. Oswald believes that Barry would have taken her away from the house if he killed her because she would be too easy to find on the property. Kurt Sigler interview. On May 17th, 2020, CBI agent Kobach interviewed Kurt Sigler. Oh, let's see. Anna Bees, are you the only one here or is it someone else? Fireflies went to sleep. Sherry, it's either you or Sherry, probably. It might be someone else, but that's okay. Whoever it is. I think I am going to wrap up shortly. I'm going to try to find a good stopping place. But like I said, I'm just on the edge of my seat. Are you not on the edge of your seat? On May 17th, 2020, CBI agent Kobach interviewed Kurt Sigler, who explained that he has known Barry since Kurt was 8 or 9 years old. I'm here. You're so fun. You're my YouTubing buddy. Okay, let's see. From the time they were 8 or 9 years old. Is that so cute? Kurt stayed with Barry and Suzanne approximately 2 years ago in Colorado. During that stay, Suzanne told Kurt that Barry was cheating on her with a girl from Indiana. Kurt hunted with Barry near Buena Vista that year, 2018. On May 11th, 2020, Marcy, Barry's sister, called Kurt and told him that Suzanne was missing. that Suzanne was riding her bike and a mountain lion got her. The next day, Kurt was in Colorado talking to Barry. Kurt stated that Suzanne is not suicidal. She would not do that to the girls or Barry. During the interview, Kurt made assertions that he did not think Barry was capable of killing Suzanne. I am what I am. Let's see. After speaking with Kurt on audio recording, Agent Kobach walked out the parking lot with him. Kurt turned and said, "I think he killed her." Wait, he just said that he didn't think so. Okay. Let's see. Oh, and I need to put that in quotes. "I think he killed her." Kurt further stated Barry's timeline does not make sense. The bike was thrown down the embankment. The stuff found along the road was placed, and it was like thrown out when Barry was, quote, driving back, end quote. Curtis also said if anyone found out about Barry's infidelity, they would all turn on him. Barry also, quote, burnt many bridges in Indiana, referring to business deals. You never know what someone can do. Absolutely. Absolutely. I hate to say this, but we might not even know what we're capable of, right? Like, we don't think we could ever do something like that, and hopefully we never could or would. On May 18th, 2020, Gene Mormon, Suzanne's father, was interviewed in Mears, Michigan by FBI agent Lynn Novak. Mormon said that the first time he heard from Barry following Suzanne's disappearance was on Saturday, May 16th, an entire week later. Barry called and sounded distraught, saying that he felt so badly and authorities were trying to pin Suzanne's death on him. Barry said that he was interrogated for 5 hours. Mormon said that he did not find it odd, however, that Barry waited almost a week after Suzanne's disappearance because Barry was very emotional and going through a lot. Mormon found it odd, though, that neither of his granddaughters or Barry were home on Mother's Day. Barry seldom worked on a Sunday, and it was unusual that he would choose to work on the Sunday of Mother's Day. Suzanne never told Mormon that she and Barry were having marital problems. Mormon believed that Suzanne would have confided in her older sister, Melinda, who lived in Tennessee. Barry and Suzanne went through stressful times when they had a hard time selling their home in Indiana and struggled to pay for their mortgages in Indiana and Colorado. I know how that is when we moved here from Seattle. That is rough, paying 2 mortgages. It's horrible. A little over a year ago, Mormon loaned Barry and Suzanne $100,000. Barry paid Mormon back with a personal check on a quarterly basis and paid off the loan early, approximately 3 months ago. The last time Mormon saw Suzanne was approximately 2 years ago. Wow. She met him in Florida for a vacation. Susan was by herself and was supposed to stay with Mormon for 7 days, but abruptly left after 3 days to meet her husband on the West Coast. He was upset of her leaving early. However, he did not tell her how he felt. Gene Mormon passed away on November 10th, 2020. Isn't that sad? Andrew Mormon. On May 18th, 2020, CBI agent Kobach interviewed Andrew Mormon, brother of Suzanne. Andrew stated that in Indiana a few years ago, Suzanne found a female's bracelet in Barry's truck and confronted him about having an affair. Barry's sister, Marcy, ended up claiming the bracelet belonged to her. Barry has exceptional hunting skills. Barry told Andrew that his surveillance system at his home has been down for months. Andrew made the statement, "Don't get between Barry and his money." Following Suzanne's disappearance, Barry told Andrew that Suzanne crashed her bike or was forced off the road. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just never know what you're capable of until you're pushed to the limit. And hopefully you're not capable of anything even close to. I mean, Barry seemed like a really evil person to begin with, right? Okay, let's see. Barry also said he thought a mountain lion dragged her off. Barry used the mountain lion idea for 2 to 3 days before the theory changed to someone taking Suzanne. Then Barry could not get past the idea that Suzanne was being molested because he molested her. Andrew said that Barry is a very good skid loader operator and he could have placed her in a tarp and put her anywhere on his way to Denver. Barry knows how to cover scent by using skunk spray and is an exceptional hunter. Andrew did not know Suzanne to have ever been an early riser. Aaron Blondo. On May 20th, 2020, your affiant interviewed Aaron Blondo. Blondo is the IT person for the Grace Church in Salida, Colorado. On Sunday morning, May 10th, 2020, the church broadcasted the service live on YouTube. Blondo is responsible for getting the broadcast set up on the church end and broadcasting it to YouTube. Blondo advised he could not see who logged into the broadcast. Let's see if I read to the bottom of this. I shall try. I'll try to just read the part here. Tim Cleo. On July 27th, 2020, Special Agent Grushing interviewed Tim Klco. It's like KLCO. Klo? Tim Klo at his place of business, 58 Jones Avenue, Salida, Colorado. Klo stated that Dan Thomas, a developer friend of his, told him in September 2019 that if Klo was looking to sell his backhoe attachment for a skid steer, Barry Morphew might buy it. Thomas gave Klo the cell phone number for Barry, and Klo traded texts with Barry around September and October 2019. Barry told Klo he was interested in buying the backhoe attachment for the asking price of $5,000, but Barry never met with Klo to complete the deal. On Saturday, May 2020, Barry again reached out to Klo and said he was interested in buying the backhoe. Oh, I've never heard about this. Holy crap. Who is Blondo? Aaron Blondo is the guy who does the IT for the church. So yeah, that was just a small paragraph of 4 lines. So putting the church service onto YouTube because of COVID. So, wow, I'm so glad I got to this part. Edge of seat. Let's see. On Saturday, May 9th, 2020, Barry again reached out to Klo and said he was interested in buying the backhoe. That is crazy. I thought he had it already. Klo traded texts and calls with Barry that day, and Barry asked via text at 1:46 p.m., "Are you around to look at backhoe?" Klo replied at 1:49:29. Wow, it makes you think it's premeditated. Hold on. No, but you can drive by and have a look. 58 Jones Ave. Klo does not know if Barry drove by the lot because of his surveillance cameras were not functional. Barry sent Chloe a text at 1:50 p.m. Okay, will do. I'll call to discuss. But Barry never called, and Chloe did not further pursue him. Chloe only found out that Barry was the husband of Suzanne Morphew after the case gained publicity. Chloe explained that the backhoe attachment could easily be used to dig a deep hole or trench in a very short amount of time. But did he buy it? It doesn't sound like he did. Timothy Anu, aka CBD Tim. Okay. I'm trying to wrap up. Should I read the part about CBD Tim? That last one, whoa. I'll read the part about CBD Tim. As cited previously, Barry told CBI on June 17th and June 25th that Tim from Westcliff might be responsible for Suzanne's disappearance. Barry's such a jerk. Everybody that's ever interacted with him. Investigators identified Tim as Timothy Anu, home address 802 County Road 305, Westcliff, Colorado. Your affiant and Special Agent Grushing contacted Anu on July 28th, 2020, in the presence of his wife, Megan Anu. The Anus were not advised that the purpose of the interview was centered around the allegations made by Barry that Timothy was a drug dealer who should be considered a suspect in the disappearance and death of Suzanne. Timothy advised that he met Suzanne at the farmer's market in Salida in 2018, and Suzanne told him about her battle with cancer. She said she had lymphoma in her 20s and the cancer was coming back. Wow. So I've been wondering about the timing of it. So she had lymphoma in her 20s, but I think it was before they got married. And she would have been 23 or 24 when they got married. So maybe it was like right before they got married. I think it was. I think that it was a couple of years before they got married that she had it, and then she got rid of it a year before they got married. And so then it was coming back in 2018. She was looking, but again, it doesn't make sense to move across the country to a new area if she already knew the lymphoma was coming back. That's crazy. And that's what I thought. I thought she knew that it was back when they moved. She was looking for treatment that was non-traditional, to buy some time because she was, quote, feeling run down, end quote. The Anus provided 4 purchase orders from Barry and Suzanne from October 2018 through April 2020 for the hemp oil. And then there's a footnote here, number 55. In March and April 2021, FBI agents asked Barry about why he needed a backhoe that particular time and day. FBI agents learned that before Barry left Indiana in 2018, he used a backhoe to dig a large hole in his front yard, fill it with items to include furniture, and cover it over, planting alfalfa on top. This is so weird. Barry also dug holes to hide large sums of money in Indiana, per his associates and own admissions. What a weirdo. It's like a freaking pirate. Okay. So I'll finish the part about Timothy, and then maybe I will stop before I get to the next part about Carrie Waddell, but I might not be able to stop. Let's see. Timothy only spoke to Barry once, when Barry called him in the summer of 2019 and said that Suzanne's lymphoma was back and she needed more oil. Suzanne interacted with Timothy about 5 or 6 times and never gave any indication that she was having to be secretive about taking the oil around Barry, or that Barry disapproved of her taking the oil. Carrie Waddell. I'm just curious of who this is. Oh, she's a massage therapist. It's kind of long, but since I started it, I'll go ahead and read it and then I will wrap up. Okay. Carrie Woodell. On January 11th, 2021, Special Agent Harris and Special Agent Grushing interviewed Carrie Woodell in Salida, Colorado. Woodell met Suzanne at the Exerflex gym in Salida in the fall of 2018 as they worked out during the same time in the afternoon. Suzanne's workouts were very similar to Woodell's, and Woodell asked her if she was preparing for a competition. Woodell began giving massages to Suzanne in March 2019 and continued through September 2019. During the treatment, Suzanne told Woodell that throughout her marriage, including Indiana, she raised her girls by herself. She and Barry moved to Colorado to slow down, but Barry started working for DSI and was trying to start his own business. Woodell estimated that Suzanne said Barry traveled to Denver once every week or two in 2019. Woodell told agents that she felt guilty for not accepting Suzanne's invitation in November 2019 to spend more time together. Suzanne approached Woodell in the gym and asked, Carrie, can we start going out? That's cute. That's very cute. Yeah, that is crazy to move from your doctor, right? And then, especially because it was probably the same establishment that helped her in her 20s. So she probably had a good history with them. He was a criminal. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. That's so cute that she asked about, where did it go? Carrie, can we start going out? Oh, I didn't do my quotes. Carrie, can we start going out? End quote. She told Woodell that she needed to start doing things with a friend. Woodell believes that Suzanne was going to speak with her about Barry's failed attempt a few days earlier to ask Woodell to start giving him massages. Woodell has been doing massages for men and women for about 17 years. She has worked on numerous wealthy white men who seem like they have a full life but are missing something. These men, like Barry, are looking to fill that void through church, money, cars, sexual relationships, or other means, and cannot seem to find what they are looking for. Woodell met Barry in September 2019 during her morning workouts at the gym. She did not know that Barry was married to Suzanne until she saw him sign in on the register one morning. When she saw his name, everything that Suzanne told Woodell about the problems with her husband clicked in Woodell's mind. Barry was alone during his morning workouts. He watched Woodell in the gym to the point of making her uncomfortable. She perceived him as a predator with a huge ego. Very perceptive. Barry's truck caught her attention because of its size. Ooh, the bigger the truck, the smaller the other thing. Size, noise, and firefighter plates. Barry was not always working as hard as Suzanne stated because he was in the gym about 4 times a week. Once Woodell was working out in the afternoon and she saw Barry walk up to the second floor of the gym, he looked all around the gym until he saw Woodell. After a while, she walked up to the second floor and he said, "Hi, I'm Barry Morphew. Have a good workout." Woodell thought her, oh wait, I didn't do my quote, air quotes. "Hi, I'm Barry Morphew. Have a good workout." Woodell thought her "Dead men tell no tales," end quote, t-shirt might have attracted him. She told Barry, quote, "Your wife is a wonderful person," end quote. While Woodell and a friend, Connie, who is an active member of Grace Church, were eating in the corner patio area of the Boathouse restaurant in November 2019. Barry and redacted Morphew sat down a few tables over, probably Macy because Mallory is away at college. He glanced over at Woodell multiple times, making her uncomfortable. Barry approached her, stretched his back, and said words to the effect of, "I'm so happy to see you out tonight. My back is hurting. I'd like to schedule an appointment." Okay, I need to do my quotes. Said the words to the effect of, quote, "I'm so happy to see you out tonight. My back is hurting. I'd like to schedule an appointment," end quote. Woodell did not want to give Barry her phone number or give him a massage, so she told him that she did not have her phone with her and he should schedule through his wife. Woodell told agents that she wondered how many other women Barry pursued who did not steer him to talk with his wife. She should have just said she wasn't taking any new clients, in my opinion. Woodell felt Suzanne's request to talk a few days later occurred because Barry has a huge ego, felt rejected by Woodell, and he likely bashed her to Suzanne. From the first time Woodell met Barry, she said it felt like, quote, "he was putting his tentacles out." Ew. Yuck. That's creepy AF. Yeah. Good intuition. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I'm at the top of page 55. That was good. Almost 2.5 hours. Awesome. I'm going to stop here so that we can go to sleep, and I'm going to take a screenshot of it to make sure I don't forget. So, very top of 55. Laura and Andrew Richardson. Oh, I'm so curious what the Richardsons have to say, but I'm turning it off. Okay, there. Okay. Anna B's, yes, but it's hard to think of the right thing to say at the time it's happening. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you think of it later. You're like, I should have said, yeah. So I'm going to say goodnight to my dear Anna B's and the silent other folk watching. Good night to both of you. Thanks for watching. I'm going to try to do a live probably around noon. I'll try to power through as much as I can. So I'm at page 54. I'm going to try really hard to get through the whole thing in a couple or in 2 or 3 sections tomorrow, but I very well might not quite finish and might have to spill over into Thursday. When are you coming back? So yeah, I'll try to do around noon tomorrow, Annabes. Okay, I'll be looking for it. And I'm just going to log off really quickly because I got to go to the bathroom. I'm drinking all that water. Love and light. See you soon. Have a good night, my dear.